Good day. There are three major religions in this world called the Abrahamic religions that tie their origin or founding to a biblical figure called Abraham. In the Islamic world, it's called Ibrahim. The three religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These three religions, over several centuries since their founding, have competed with each other. The Jews particularly have been one of the most visible people in the world all over. Then came the Christians, and the Christians in the early days suffered persecution, but somehow, over time, they got to be the religion of the great powers of the world, starting with the conversion of Augustus in Rome. Eventually, they became the religion of Western Europe. The religion of the Middle East these days is predominantly Islam. Islam was founded by Muhammad, and now Islam has moved on to have various variants. But one thing is common among all these religions. They tend to have a belief that their pathway is the only pathway. For the Jews, they believe they are children of God. They are the chosen ones. They are the chosen ones. The Christians believe they are children of God and all of them will make heaven. Any person that is not a Christian will not go to heaven. And then for the Muslims, they believe that Muhammad is the only prophet of God and it is those who follow him that will make heaven. There's a strong element of mine is superior to yours in these three religions. Today, those three religions are in conflict and they are causing a lot of problems in the Middle East. Over the course of history, the proponents of this religion have moved into power and sometimes they have declined from power. But what has happened is that time and chance, as always happens, favors one at one time, makes them the religion of the most powerful people in the neighborhood, and in another time, they are the religion that is receding. In this time now we are in this age and time, the religion that has defined a large part of the world, the Western, European, Anglo-Saxon, and the world as we know it in the West, is Christianity. It is the religion of the people of America, the people who created America. It was the religion of the people who conquered a large part of Europe. And it is the religion that was exported to a large part of Africa and the New World, Latin America. But there was a time also when the Middle East was the center of the world and Islam was the religion that was always ascendant. But unfortunately for the Jews, over the course of several centuries, almost 2,000 centuries, they've been undergoing periods of strength and periods of persecution, periods of dispersal, and periods of expulsion from cities. In fact, it is thought that over the course of history, the Jews have been expelled from several territories and countries almost 190 times, if not 200 times. Ultimately, eventually, there was the Balfour Declaration in the waning days of the Ottoman Empire, when the Ottoman Empire lost most of the region we know now as the countries of the Middle East, when they were broken between the French and the British. And today, these different countries we know as Iran, Iraq, Syria, and all these countries we know in the form and manner they're taken out of the failing and dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire became the countries we know today. In the midst of all that, a country was formed when the Balfour Declaration led to the creation of the resettlement of the Jews in the territories of the Palestine Mandate. And over time, in 1948, it led to the creation of the country we know today, who declared independence and became known as the country of Israel. Today, I want to explore where Israel will possibly be in the future, because over the course of 1948 to today, in 2025, Israel has inserted itself and made itself a powerful force that is shaping and redefining the Middle East. Good day and welcome to my channel. My name is Ebimo Amungo, and this is Ebimo Amungo's perspective on global affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments regarding the opinions I express, please put them in the comment section and like and share this video. The Middle East is undergoing a series of defining events. As I'm making this video now, I just got information that there's been a ceasefire that has been agreed upon in Syria. Syria was just the latest to feel the full brunt of the Israeli army, who descended on a shot at the presidential palace in Syria and shot at the military headquarters because the Israelis were not happy with the actions of the new president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara. What was his sin? He launched a campaign against the Druze. There's a problem in the Middle East in the sense that every single proponent of a particular religion defines their own reality according to their own perspective. Religion and the doctrines of religion is the recurring theme of the Middle East. So much so that even in Israel, there are doctrinal differences in how they view the state of Israel and the reality of Israel. Because the view of the Orthodox is totally different from the view of the secular leaning Israelis. And among the proponents of Islam, the Muslims, there's still also differences because there are the Shia, and then there are the Wahhabis, and there are the Sunnis, and all the different factions of Sunnism. Sunnism has many, many different factions, just as the Shia religion also has different factions, the different components to it. And one thing is common when one particular faction comes up, and that faction is very fundamentalist and extremist in its view that it is the one pathway to heaven, or it is its own pathway that is the good pathway. It leads to conflict because most times they go into fighting the neighbors and they go into causing a lot of conflict. The conflict in Syria is born out of a Sunni fundamentalist view of the world, close to Wahhabism, but one that doesn't tolerate a lot of the neighbors. In recent times, since al-Shara came into, he has gone against the Alawites, he has gone against Christians, he has gone against quite a lot of other communities in Syria. And that is what the Israelis are holding him to account for when he now went about the Arab Druze community. It's interesting to know that this conflict has led to the division between those who support Israel and those who don't support Israel. One of the great opponents of the Israeli state has been the religious groups in Iran. Iran is also multi-ethnic and multi-religious, but they have been very, very persistent in one particular regard, and that is the regard that they support the people of Palestine. And they feel that displacement of the Palestinians is not a good thing, and the Palestinians should have a state of their own. They've supported the Palestinians relentlessly. But here's the thing. In the Middle East, the Israelis have become part of the reality. Israel that we know is made up of Jews, relocating from a lot of countries. It will surprise you to know that in the Middle East, there was a time when most of the countries of the Middle East has significant Jewish populations because for 3,000 years or more, the Jews have been dispersed all over the world. Like I said, they had been expelled, and one of the big expulsions was by the Roman Empire, and they were dispersed around the world. And because of this dispersal around the world, without their own enclave, without their own homeland, they were inserted into many countries. And when they got into these countries, they tended to be in the trading and the banking and finance areas. There's a reason why this is so. The Jews tend to believe in finance. They lend money out to people. When they lend to the Jews, they don't lend on credit, with interest, but then they lend to Christians. They tend to lend money with interest. But especially in the time when Islam and Christianity was growing in the Middle Ages, Christians and Muslims frowned against interest earning lending, usury. The Jews didn't have that complaint and that worry, and they have institutionalized finance as part of their DNA to this point where the biggest financial institutions in the world, over the course of time, the Jews were very good in trading and were also very good in lending money to kings. Kings tended to like to persecute wars, and most of the times they got the money from the Jewish financial groups and people around them. So they grew over time. They grew in Spain, they grew in England, they grew in several countries. But in the same breath also, whatever reason, they have been expelled also from France, from England, from Russia, and all these other places when finally they fall out of odd. So the creation of a Jewish homeland, as they have seen it, has become a point of contention for them. It's a point of happiness, but it's also a point of being a problem now for their neighbors, because in coming to take this home, settle in this new place now, they are displacing some people. And they are not just displacing them, they are displacing them to the point where some of them believe that it is their right to remove them. Nobody has influenced modern day Israel more than Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is the longest serving prime minister of Israel. And in his last term, in this current term now as prime minister, he has served 2 different times, but he started his latest stint as prime minister in 2019, and since then he had to form a coalition with 2 groups to get into government. One of the group was the extremely orthodox group in Israeli Knesset that have 18 members, and the other is the ultra nationalist group. These 2 groups have pulled Netanyahu in 2 different directions. The ultra-nationalists, the ultra-orthodox don't want to serve in the army, while the ultra-nationalists feel that they should cleanse Gaza and of every Palestinian and make Israel a place devoid of other Arabs. That's why they are called ultra-nationalists. And these are the groups that Netanyahu has now leaned on heavily to be in government. And this is not a very good time for Netanyahu, because he's been having cases, corruption cases, bribery cases, fraud cases against him, and he has been indicted. And it is expected and thought that he may be jailed if he loses his position as a prime minister. So since coming into government, Netanyahu has done quite a number of things. He has fought several wars. He has fought a war against the Lebanese. He has fought a war against the Syrians. He has fought a war against the Iranians, against Hezbollah, and he has maintained the war in Gaza. He has used war as his escape route for these years. But it is not the fact that Netanyahu is using war to survive. It's the fact that Netanyahu has enjoyed unbridled and unparalleled support by some groups, whether covertly or overtly. The Turks have been one great supporter of Israel. In fact, at the very dawn of the creation of Israel, Turkey was the first country to recognize Israel because the territory that is today Israel and most of the Middle East came out of the loss of the Ottoman Empire. So Turkey recognized it because it was an action done to spite the British. So Turks have had a long relationship. Turkey till today still has great relationship with Israel, despite all the shoutings and all the proclamations of President Erdogan. Turkey is in Israel's corner. America too has, over the course of time, moved very significantly in Israel's corner. America is a country where a lot of the people who suffered the pogroms of Russia and all the Eastern European countries moved to quite a lot of Jews from Eastern Europe and Russia moved to America. And over the course of time, they've become very powerful and they've become very preeminent because they lead most times financial institutions. And besides, they're also good in innovation and a lot of scientific things. The Israelis and the Jews have a common tendency to be very good in the sciences. And for that reason, they have grown to preeminent positions in America. And for many of them, the concept of an Israeli state is very beneficial to them. It makes a lot of sense to them. They support it. And for that reason, they give financial support to the growth of Israel. Many believe the concept of Zionism, that this is a land that has been given to them and it is theirs and they want to relocate there. It was given to them by God in their own estimation. So there are Jews who support that cause. But there are also a lot of Christian evangelicals in the southern part of America who support the Israelis much more than even the Jews in America. Most of the Jews are concentrated within the New York financial district area. But across the southern belt of America, called the Bible Belt, a large swath of evangelicals support, because in their own doctrine too, also in their own belief, that Christ will come one day and he will come from that region. They have their own reasons for supporting Israel, but they form the great backbone Israel enjoys in the Congress of America, in the Senate, and in the House of Reps. So we look at a situation where Netanyahu has used this support and become very powerful. And among the Arabs, knowing that America is the preeminent supporter and backbone of most of the Arab states, they've all learned that support for Israel is the wise thing to do. Even Ahmed al-Shara has a good relationship with Israel because it was the tool and the instrument that was used in undermining the Assad government and overthrowing the Assad government. So we have a situation where almost all the Arab states, whether they have declared it or they have not declared it, they are respectful and fearful, and for that reason, support the Israeli actions. They can't challenge it because Israel has America as its backbone supporting it. For some people feel that the relationship between Israel and America is one where America is using Israel as a proxy to antagonize and keep the Arabs in place and in check. But for a lot of other people, they feel that the actions of Netanyahu and the Israeli backers and supporters is one purely for the benefit of Israel. But for whatever reason, the fact that the Arabs among themselves divided into Wahhabists, Salafists, Shia, and all, have divided into camps where the Sunnis completely at odds with the Shia. And the largest Shia population being in Iran, most of the Sunnis are anything that goes against Iran is good for them. And if you look at Saudi Arabia and most of the countries of the Middle East, Qatar and all, these are countries that were formed by time and chance. The time here being the British Empire giving them the ability to have their own state, like we hear of Lawrence Arabia, all of them undermining the talks. And then the chance here being that they found oil. These countries became excessively rich and powerful because they got oil. And through oil, they promoted their own version of their own religion. A case in point is Saudi Arabia, where Wahhabism is very strong. It is a religion it is one that demands conformism, and everybody in Saudi Arabia wears white. The same thing too in Qatar. And for that, in promoting the people that Americans call Al-Qaeda in Syria, people who use very strong means in pushing across the agenda, means that came to at variance with the Americans at one time because of Osama bin Laden, but who, because of their view of their religion, hold it that they are better than every other person. And for that reason, any other person around them will be undermined and will be taken care of. They don't care. One of the things we tend to see with this religion is that while the Jews felt comfortable trading with Christians and Muslims, the Christians and the Muslims and the Christians stood against usury and finance. It's the same thing too that happened when the Muslims were in ascendance. It was common for the Muslim countries to raid Christian neighborhood countries and get their slaves from them, because it's not allowed in the Muslim faith to you have your own slaves from among Muslims. So we saw a situation where under the Ottoman Empire, we were seeing them raid countries like Ukraine, all the Hungarian countries, so they could get slaves to continue to expand their empire. The good thing is that they had systems that assimilated the slaves, and then they had systems like the Janissaries in the Ottoman Empire, where you could grow to become a leader in that society. Even Grand Vizier, if you could convert one to Islam, or you start to work with them, either that, you pay a tithe of some sort, you pay tax. In fact, it was said that there was so much peace between all the communities and all the countries and all the religions under the Ottoman Empire, so much so that they were much more preferred than even the Muslims. But it is not so anymore. Now, the Israelis want to push their own agenda. The ultra Orthodox feel that they should be the ones, Israel should be the one that is, and the Jewish faith should be the only faith of that neighborhood. The ultranationalists feel that Israel should be a greater country, and the Greater Israel project is being projected now across that area. Recently, Benjamin Netanyahu announced that southern Israel will be occupied, added to Golan Heights, added to West Bank. There's an expansion. It will be interesting to see the map of the world in 30 years' time and see what size Israel may have grown into. Because each year, each decade, and each century, the map of the world shifts, it changes. It changes rapidly, and that's why history is a continuum of flux, a continuum where one country expands, however it becomes relevant, it does expand, and then another country recedes. The Industrial Revolution led to the expansion of the British and the European empires even across the pond to places like America and Australia. Now we're seeing a situation where that is changing and a new dynamics is forming in China and the eastern part of the world. But in the Middle East, oil played a significant role in changing barren desert places into great hubs of commerce, industry, logistics, and now the projection and promotion of religious doctrine and ideological doctrine. We don't really know how this is going to end up, but it's just interesting to see how every day Israel is pushing itself, starting off from a simple small state of probably 100,000 refugees to a state that is now 10 million strong, even though they lost some numbers during the 12-day war to immigration. We don't know what is going to happen, but we know one thing. Israel has expanded itself, and even though it is being looked as the bully of the neighborhood, it is looked at as being genocidal, it is looked at as being anything that you want to call Israel, you want to criticize Israel for. At the heart of it is Benjamin Netanyahu. because the modern Israel we see has been shaped in his image and his policy and his ability to form a coalition with American politicians over the course of the past 30 years who have worked in the interest of Israel in undermining neighbors like Libya, Iraq, Iran, Syria, Lebanon. Maybe one day they may even move ahead and we may see Israel having a confrontation with Saudi Arabia and even the Turkey. When we look at the map, we will be seeing a huge and expanded Israel that will be covering the whole Middle East. That is the question that only time will tell, but there's no doubt about it. Benjamin Netanyahu has been a force in the history of modern Israel. This is where I end my video today. If you have your own opinion as regard to the role Benjamin Netanyahu has played in modern day Israel and the role that the divisions of religious affiliations and denominations play in the support or the quarrels with Israel, please put them in the comment section. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Do well to like and share. Thank you.